Today's spoiler video is brought to you by Card Kingdom. Use the link below to pre-order your cards today. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of daily Modern Horizon spoilers. And while we had some early spoilers yesterday, today is the official start of spoiler season, and we have a bunch to talk about. Some new mythics, our first mythics from the set, some lower rarity cards, another member of an exciting new cycle, so tons of cards to talk about today, which means we should probably jump right into it. Start talking about these sweet new cards. Before we do, a super quick reminder. If you haven't already, it would be amazing of you if you could take a second, click that subscribe button down at the bottom of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So let's talk some Modern Horizon, starting with Mythic number 1, Seasoned Pyromancer. And good God, is this card insane. So 3 mana, you get a 2/2 human shaman. When it enters the battlefield, you discard 2 cards, draw 2 cards, and for each non-land you discard, you get a 1/1 red elemental creature token. Then, if it's in your graveyard, you can pay 5, exile it, and get 2 more 1/1 elementals. So this card is basically a cheaper Pien Carnalar combined with a Faithless Looting, a little bit of dragon fodder thrown in from your graveyard, and these are cards that are super eminently playable in the modern format. Pien Carnalar shows up in decks, and this is a cheaper version with maybe as much upside. Like, rummaging is really nice. Yeah, your tokens don't get flying, you can't throw them for damage, but being able to churn through your deck is really nice. Faithless Looting, one of the most played cards in the format. So Seasoned Pyromancer, basically young Pyromancer all grown up apparently. This card is one of the cards I'm probably most excited for the modern format that we've seen so far. So first off, apart with just being the red Lingering Souls essentially, where you're getting 4 power and toughness for 3 mana, assuming your drawing and discarding goes the right way, you're also stocking your graveyard. Like, we're in a modern format where so many decks want cards in their graveyard. That's why Faithless Looting is such a staple. Maybe you're discarding Arclight Phoenixes, or Stinkweed Imps if you're dredging. Also Triggery Dredge with your Seasoned Pyromancer to dredge more times, or even just like stocking your graveyard with cards in general to delve them away in your Death Shadow deck to Gurmag Angler. So many decks actively want cards in their graveyard that you're getting with Seasoned Pyromancer a really efficient card in a vacuum. Just like by itself, a 3 mana 2/2 that makes 2 tokens and has upside is already good. The looting, rummaging, already good, plus you get this graveyard synergy. Just everything about this card is super bonkers, and that doesn't even include the fact that it has some tribal potential. Like, yes, it's a human, everyone knows it's a human, you'll probably play it in humans. I mean, you could play it in humans. I actually don't know how this fits. I guess you could use it to get rid of some of your worst cards, but it's also a shaman, and it seems to fit pretty well in the Rage Forger Shaman deck, which has kind of been taking off a little bit thanks to Judith. The deck already plays Rixmati Reveler. It's just an efficient shaman that also churns through your deck. Seasoned Pyromancer does essentially the same thing for 1 more mana with a bunch more upside. So Seasoned Pyromancer has a bunch of different things it does in the format. It's good on its own. It's a Faithless Looting, out of body. It gives you late game potential from the graveyard. It has relevant creature types. Just all around, this is a card that feels built to be successful in Modern. So while I don't know exactly where it will show up immediately as far as top tier decks, there are a ton of different decks where Seasoned Pyromancer is at least in the conversation. It's just so efficient and good at basically everything that it's hard for me to imagine this won't find a competitive modern home eventually. Next on our list, we found out that our Force of Negation from yesterday is not just a standalone callback to Force of Will, it is part of a cycle. So today we got Force of Vigor, our green force, and this one, kinda sweet, 4 mana, instant speed. You destroy 2 artifacts and or enchantments, and if it's not your turn, you can cast it for free by exiling a green card from your hand. So this is obviously not a card that's really in the main deck conversation. Artifact and enchantment, while very powerful and a staple of modern sideboards, is not something that you're going to just slam into your main deck normally. It is a card that's definitely going to show up and shake up the modern format. So it's kind of similar to Return to Dust, almost a like reverse Return to Dust, where if you cast it during your opponent's turn at instant speed, you get some extra value by casting it for free. But nabbing 2 artifacts and enchantments for 0 mana is really good in Modern. We have a lot of powerful artifact-based decks and enchantment-based decks like Affinity and Hardened Scales. Being able to, for free, maybe with a lethal attack going at your face after your opponent sacrifices their board to Arcbound Ravager while you're tapped out, nab the lethal attacker along with a cranial plating or something, that's probably just a game-winning line. And that doesn't even include the fact that this just wrecks one of my favorite decks, the Blood Moon Prison deck, where even if you are locked under Blood Moon and you cannot cast any colored mana spells, Force of Vigor lets you just exile a random greed card that you can't cast anyway from your hand, not only get rid of the Blood Moon, but get rid of a Chalice of the Void or Ensnaring Bridge, another lock piece as well. So I think that Force of Vigor very much in the conversation for those coveted sideboard slots in the Modern format. Most decks already playing something to deal with artifacts and enchantments, and if you're already playing something, being able to deal with 2 of them for free is a really good deal. So we'll see, but I expect to see people at the very least trying Force of Vigor in that artifact and enchantment hate sideboard slot right off the bat as soon as Modern Horizons sees print. Next on our list, we have Mythic number 2 in Morphotron, or Morophon, I guess, the Boundless. And this is a card that I don't really think it's going to show up in Modern per se, but a super sweet card for Commander in specific. So 7 colorless mana, you get a 6/6 changeling, so it's all creature types. When it enters the battlefield, you get to choose a creature type. Spells of the chosen type cost 1 of every color less to cast, but only colorless mana, doesn't reduce generic mana. And then it's also a Lord, where creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1. So for this one, I'm going to assume right off the bat, probably not showing up in Modern. There are some combos that are really janky, maybe against the odd style. Maybe you could build like a casual Modern deck with it. But the main home, I think, for Morophon is in Commander. So in Commander, especially with 5-color decks, many of our current 5-color commanders are specific for tribes, like Scion of the Ur-Dragon. Only good for a dragon deck. Reaper King, you need a lot of scarecrows. A bunch of 5-color slivers like Sliver Legion, you really need a sliver deck. But there are a ton of tribes that just don't have a commander. Like, if you want to play humans or zombies, there's not a 5-color commander for those. So Morophon suddenly lets you play a 5-color deck with a real tribal commander for literally any tribe in existence. So this is kind of the default commander. Instead of playing like a Progenitus or just some throwaway 5-color commander, no matter what tribe you're playing, this is going to be a commander that actually does something for your deck. So a good example of this is Humans. Humans is one of those tribes that is split across all the colors, but there are no 5-color human commanders. If you want to play a human deck, maybe you play 3 colors, maybe you play the throwaway Progenitus commander. Well, all of a sudden, Morophon is not only an option, but a powerful option. Like, picture Rafika the Many and Riku of Two Reflections and Marchesa the Black Rose. These cards suddenly become incredibly cheap if you have Morophon out. Like, Marchesa going to be a single mana. Same with Rafik. Riku is only 2 mana. So not only is it pumping your team and giving you an on-flavor tribe member as your commander, it's actually powerful and generating a ton of mana with this cost reduction. Another good example of this is Zombies. Zombies are currently 5-color. They started off mono black primarily, but now we have zombies literally across the color spectrum. And if you want to play 5-color zombies, again, you got to use the throwaway Progenitus commander. But now Morophon comes in and actually is relevant. And on curve, your Labyrinth Troll is free. So I really love that aspect of it. Plus, kind of your honorary Nephilim commander. If you have Morophon out, you can literally cast every Nephilim that you have for free, which is kind of sweet. I mean, not that Nephilim is a top tier strategy or anything, but it is sweet that you could use this as your Nephilim commander. The other thing is, outside of all this tribal potential, the best part of Morophon is the combo potential. So with Morophon, if you have Morophon out in a Joda or a Fist of Suns, all the tribe members that you name with Morophon, they're going to be free because you can pay one of each color instead of paying their mana cost, and Morophon gives you a discount on one of each color. So if you're playing that human deck, let's say, suddenly all your humans are free, you throw in like an arcane adaptation or conspiracy to the mix, and suddenly every creature in your deck is free. So tribal commander, also combo commander, where you can build infinite combo Morophon with Joda and Fist of the Sun and arcane adaptation, and just like play Muldrifters that draw you cards, draw through your entire deck, cast every creature in your deck for free. So while I don't think Morophon fun is going to put the Modern in Modern Horizon. This is a super sweet card, and I expect it to definitely be a fun card to kind of head up your commander decks, either in Tribal or to build around the janky cast everything for free combos. Next on our list, we have a Fetchland, and people, they want more Fetchlands, but this one's a little different, not a traditional Fetchland, Prismatic Fiesta. So Prismatic Fiesta, this card's pretty interesting. It's a land, just like a Fetchland, you can tap it, pay a life, sack it, and then you tutor for a basic land, any basic land you want, put it on the battlefield, untap, shuffle your library. So basically, a Fetchland that only gets basic land. So Prismatic Fiesta is kind of like Evolving Wilds. It's all grown up. You don't have any of the tapped issues, or like a weird take on an actual fetch land like Flooded Strand with a pay a life, search for a land. So where does Prismatic Fiesta actually show up? And here, there are a lot of possibilities. First off, it's great in decks that care about waste, like Eldrazi decks, for example. They really need colorless mana, which means if you can Blood Moon them, suddenly they're Thought-Knot Seers and Reality Smashers can't be cast. Prismatic Fiesta gives you a fetch land that if you're playing like mono red Eldrazi or whatever color of Eldrazi, it's a fetch land that can grab your colored mana in basic land form and also grab waste, because waste is a basic. So I think that that's an easy home for Prismatic Fiesta. Also really funny in the Border Post deck. If you remember, we played a budget Magic deck with Restore Balance that was playing like basics of every single color to support our 5-color plan with Border Post, and we're using Evolving Wilds. In a deck like that, Prismatic Fiesta is just a strict upgrade to Evolving Wilds. Like in any deck, I guess, if you're playing Evolving Wilds, it's a strict upgrade. The other consideration here is just how much Prismatic Fiesta is going to cost, because if Prismatic Fiesta is not too expensive, it's going to be a great budget substitute for a lot of decks in the modern format. So right now, the original fetch lands are really expensive. Scalding Tarn, over $100 a copy. They're all pretty expensive. Even the Khans reprinted fetch lands, you're still getting up like $30, $35 a copy. So if Prismatic Fiesta is $10 or $15, suddenly it's a fetch land that is way, way cheaper and going to give budget players an option to have that true modern fetch land feel. Yes, there's a drawback. You can't grab your shock lands, but still, it's great there. The other home for these decks is in, I would say, like 2 and 3 color decks. So in 2 color decks, let's say you're playing blue-white control, a deck that already has a lot of basic lands, you can play Prismatic Fiesta as your second fetch land along with Flooded Strand rather than playing an off-color fetch land. You use your Flooded Strand to grab your Hollow Fountains, use Prismatic Fiesta to grab your basic lands. The other home is 3-color decks, maybe even 4-color decks, where Prismatic Fiesta allows you to fetch up any of your colors and gives you an additional option for playing around Blood Moon, for example, things that hate on non-basic lands. So if you're playing Jund, this might be in the conversation. Yeah, your Verdant Catacombs can grab Shocklands, and it can grab a forest or a swamp, but it's not going to grab a mountain. Prismatic Fiesta, it loses the upside of grabbing a Shockland, so it's not going to fix your mana quite as well, but it can grab all 3 of your basics, whichever one you need in any situation. So I think Prismatic Fiesta, this card is really good. It is the best Evolving Wilds we've ever seen. Upside with waste, potential in modern and competitive decks as an additional fetch land in 3-color decks to play around Blood Moon, and potentially an awesome budget option depending on where the price shakes out. So fingers crossed it ends up being cheap, because if this is cheap, it will be a budget staple in basically all decks we play in Modern. Next up, we have Ice Fang Coatl, and oh man, this card, it is so close to what I wanted. 2 mana in the Simic colors. You get a 1/1 Snow Snake with flying and flash, and it draws a card when it enters the battlefield, and if you have 3 or more snow permanents, not counting Ice Fang Coatl, it has Death Touch. So this is, in the best case, a Simic Baleful Strix with flash. Like, if you have 3 snow permanents, this is just a flashy Baleful Strix, which is a very good card. Baleful Strix is a legacy staple. Worst case, you're getting like a harder to cast Elvish Visionary, because even if you don't have enough snow permanents, you still get a 1/1 flying flash draw card, which isn't bad. Like, Elvish Visionary does see play primarily in decks that care about its subtypes, like Elf, but sometimes it shows up in like Rally the Ancestor decks. So I think the biggest question for Ice-Fang Kotal is how easy is it going to be to actually have 3 snow permanents? So the good news is we're getting more snow basic lands in Modern Horizons. We already know that, they've been previewed, but they already existed in the Modern format. However, if we get more competitively costed snow permanents, especially lands like a snow dual cycle, then all of a sudden Ice-Fang Kotal is going to be a Baleful Strix on turn 3 more often than not. So I think you can kind of build this into a Baleful Strix. The opportunity cost of playing snow-covered lands instead of just normal basic lands, it's basically 0. Like, the only downside is the cost. They cost more than normal basics, but any deck can play snow-covered basic lands. So if you get 3 of those on the battlefield, you got Ice-Fang Kotal powered up into Baleful Strix. The problem is, not every Modern deck is going to have 3 basics on the battlefield, so fingers crossed for more snow permanents. So I think in the worst case, let's say you're playing no snow permanents, Ice-Fang Kotal is still okay. It's not a staple, but it's an Elvish Visionary with flying and flash. That is not a horrible Magic card. It chump blocks, it flies, chips in for damage, can wear equipment or whatever, put an aura on it. Best case, it is an absurd card. When it's doing its Baleful Strix impression, and you have those snow permanents, Ice-Fang Kotal, one of my favorite cards in the set. So we'll see how easy it is to have 3 snow permanents, but either way, super sweet, really powerful card. Plus, Panharmonicon. Next up, we have our Buy a Box promo from the set, Fluster Storm. So Fluster Storm is a Legacy staple, one of the 10 most played cards in the Legacy format. 1 mana, instant speed, counters an instant or sorcery unless its controller plays 1, and then it has Storm. So it's going to increase based on how many spells have been cost. Maybe you'll have to pay 2 or 3 or 4. So Fluster Storm, the nice thing about Fluster Storm is it's really good at shutting down combo decks. If Storm is a concern, Fluster Storm counters every copy of Grape Shot, basically. If your opponent's trying to Ad Nauseam or Goryo's Vengeance, Fluster Storm is a very good, very cheap counter spell. However, I think that Fluster Storm is a little weaker in Modern than you're probably thinking. It's actually weaker in Modern than I was thinking. When I heard Fluster Storm, I was like, alright, this is going to be sweet. But the problem with Fluster Storm is it only hits instants and sorceries. It doesn't just hit non-creature spells, and Modern is a lot different than Legacy when it comes to instants and sorceries. In the Modern format, a lot of the combo decks, outside of Storm, are actually comboing with permanents, often non-creature permanents, but sometimes creatures as well. When in Legacy, basically all the combo decks are spell combos. Like, a very high number are actual Storm-style decks with a tons of instants and sorceries. So in Legacy, Fluster Storm shuts down most of the combo decks. In Modern, it actually misses many of the combo decks. You can't counter an Amulet of Vigor against Amulet Titan. You can't counter a Cranial Plating against Hardened Scales or a Devoted Druid and Vizier Druid combo. So you miss a lot of stuff, which I think might mean that, at least in our current meta, Fluster Storm is more of a sweet sideboard card. To fight against Storm decks, it can win a counter war if you're playing a Control Mirror, so there are uses for it. But I think it is much narrower in Modern than it is in the Legacy format. Although, also important to mention here, gameplay aside, Fluster Storm is the Buy a Box promo for the set. So if you pick up a box early from your local game store, you're getting like $30, $40 at current prices of free value. Also, first non-foil Buy a Box promo. Super sweet new art, non-foil, so you're not going to have any trouble playing it in your deck and having like warp cards or anything. So a super sweet, just free edition if you pick up a box early from your LGS. Although, like I said, I actually think Fluster Storm is going to be very metagame dependent in Modern, and maybe be more of a sideboard card, or maybe not even a sideboard card. But if we get to the position where Storm is again the top deck in the meta, or we have other Storm style spell combos, then Fluster Storm shoots way up in value and becomes one of the best cards you can have in your deck. Finally today, we have a reprinted uncommon, and it's a sweet one. Fact or Fiction. So Fact or Fiction is traditionally one of the most powerful card draw spells that we've had in Magic. Instant speed, 4 mana, you flip up the top 5 cards of your library, your opponent puts them in 2 piles, you grab the one you want, it goes in your hand, the rest go in your graveyard. I think the question is, how good is Fact or Fiction in Modern? Like, you're digging 5 cards deep, you are fueling your graveyard, which is nice, but 4 mana is a lot in a format like Modern, and we have a lot of options. Like, 4 mana is Jace the Mind Sculptor mana, 5 mana you get 2 Teferi, and then you get 2 of that mana back. So how does Fact or Fiction fit into that scheme? And I gotta say, I really don't know. I think people will try it because there are upside, and this would mostly be probably probably a blue control card, although I guess like Izzet decks could try it as well, even though it's a little bit expensive. Storm decks could draw a bunch of cards with it, but it has upsides, and upsides are like it helps flip your Iskanta. You're dumping cards in your graveyard to flip Iskanta, and it does allow you to leave up your mana to Cryptic Command, which also happens to be 4 mana, or cast another counter spell or a removal spell during your opponent's turn, and then if you don't got a Cryptic, you can just Factor Fiction, refuel. You're probably drawing either one insane card, but more likely 2 really good cards, or maybe even 3 not that good cards, or 4 bad cards, but you're generating a lot of card advantage at instant speed for its mana cost. So Factor Fiction is a card I love. One of my favorite cards to resolve in like Cube and Limited, and I'm going to be really excited to see just how good it actually is in Modern. We've never had a chance before. This is the first time it's been in the format, so I'm going to be curious. I think people will at least try it as a card draw spell in like instant speed blue decks, maybe the Wilderness Reclamation decks, blue-white control decks like that. Or people are going to try Factor Fiction because it has a lot of history and is historically really powerful, but whether it sticks around or just becomes another like cool card to have in the format, that remains to be seen. Anyway, I think that brings us to the end of our daily spoilers for today. So let me know what you think about all these sweet new Modern Horizon cards. How busted is Seasoned Pyromancer? That card looks so insane. How good is it going to be? What decks does it go in? What about Force of Vigor? How good is Force of Vigor? What about Morphone or Morphotron? What do you want to do with that one? Can it show up in Modern, or is it just a sweet commander? Can the combo actually work and take off? What about Prismatic Fiesta? How cheap will it be? Will it be cheap enough to be a budget version of a Fetchland? What decks do you want to play with that most? How good is that? What about Icefang Kotal? Can that be a Baleful Strix? Fluster Storm, is it better in Modern than I'm giving it credit for? What about Factor Fiction? Is that a card that was good a bunch of years ago and we're just kind of overrating it thanks to its historical power, or does it still have what it takes to compete in Modern? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and yeah, I'll be back tomorrow to talk more Modern Horizon spoilers. Until then, I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.